Those are the key headlines this hour, and this is the show where our team at CNBC TV 18 gets you the top stories of the day. I am Ritu Singh and you're watching Reporter's Diary. Straight to the last read then, where markets ended with cuts of about 0.5% to end the week with cuts of 1%. The Nifty gave up the 10,800 mark to end below the 200-day moving average, and the Sensex managed to hold on to the 36,000 mark. Among broader markets, banks slipped 300 points from the day's high to end with cuts of 0.5%, led by ICICI Bank. Mid-caps also tumbled in trade today, and that index shed more than 1.5%. The top story this evening then, the Supreme Court has upheld the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code in its entirety and its constitutional validity. While dismissing a bunch of petitions challenging the IBC, the top court refused to allow pleas for parity between operational and financial creditors. For instance, this, remember, is a batch of 10 petitions that the court was hearing which challenged various provisions of the IBC, including the timelines and the jurisdiction of NCLAT itself. Now, the court has disposed all the contentions, raising questions on the validity of Section 29A, for instance, which bars defaulting promoters for bidding for their own assets. Also, it upheld the retrospective application of 29A, which had also been challenged. It gave an important clarification on the related party clause, where it said that only those persons that are connected to the business activity would fall under the criteria, not a person who is related by family ties, for instance. Another key point of contention was the treatment of different classes of creditors, where petitioners had sought parity between financial and operational creditors. Now, here the Supreme Court has rejected the plea, saying it found the classification between financial and operational creditors neither discriminatory, nor arbitrary, nor violative of Article 14 of the Constitution. It also upheld Section 12A of the IBC, which allows for withdrawal of insolvency proceedings by consent of 90% of the creditors, and concluded the order with an epilogue where it said that the experiment conducted in enacting the code, judged by the generality of its provisions and not the so-called crudities and inequities pointed out by the petitioners, is proving to be largely successful, and signed off that order saying, and I quote here, "The defaulter's paradise is lost. In its place, the economy's rightful position has been regained." Now, leading bankruptcy lawyer, expert Behram Vakil welcomed the Supreme Court order. We also spoke to VG Kannan, the Chief Executive Officer of the Indian Banks Association, who said that the judgment was pleasing to his ears.
I think it's a really important decision for our banking sector, for the country itself, and I can't be more delighted. The architecture of the statute itself has been upheld. The language of the statute has been upheld. The waterfall where the creditors come first, except for the carve-outs for workmen and the costs of the IBC, etc. So I think in general, that's a huge plus factor. And again, this operational creditor issue had been muddied by Binani. And I'm very glad that the court has, clarified that as well, because it was creating chaos and huge amount of delay.
For a long time, we had this process which actually gave teeth to the bankers to take action and the lenders. And I'm very happy about this. And I think it sort of quashes any kind of expectations saying that the IBC will be thrown out. And I'm very happy that the entire, as the wording says, uphold insolvency code in entirety. It's very pleasing to the ears.
And the DLF stock tanked in trade today after the CBI filed a fresh case against former Haryana Chief Minister Bhupinder Singh Hooda and others in connection with an alleged irregularity in land allotment in Gurugram. The CBI also conducted searches across multiple locations, including DLF offices. Parikshit Luthra, who has been tracking all of these developments, joins us with the latest. Parikshit, fill us in.
Well, this has become a hot political issue. The Congress party has hit out at the BJP, saying this is political vendetta, and the timing of this FIR is very curious. It's happening just ahead of the general election, the big general election. Having said that, total of 18 people have been made accused in this FIR. This includes the former Haryana Chief Minister B.S. Hooda, also T.C. Gupta, the then IS officer who was heading and was also the chief administrator of the Haryana Urban Development Authority. A number of companies like Emaar and also DLF have been named as an accused in this case. Essentially, what it points out that all these companies, at least 15 companies, they've been named as colonizers in the FIR. These 15 companies got into a conspiracy with B.S. Hooda, the chief minister at that point in time, and T.C. Gupta, the chief administrator of Hooda, to fraudulently acquire land. The FIR goes on to state in detail that the applications of these companies were not in order. There were deficiencies. They did not meet criteria. But despite that, they were granted licenses to acquire land. And they also pointed out that there has been a loss to owners of land because they had to sell their land at cheaper prices at low rates. And therefore, a case has been registered under sections of cheating, criminal conspiracy, sections of the Corruption Act against B.S. Hooda and T.C. Gupta, the administrator of Hooda. It goes on to say that they worked against the interests of the Haryana government, of the people at large, and also the Haryana Urban Development Authority. And therefore, a case must be registered. Right now, it's open FIR. It's quite possible that in the days to come, more names, more entities could be added to it. Back to you.
ये कोई पहले भी किया इन्होंने राजनीतिक प्रतिशोध से ये हो रहे हैं ये समझते हैं कि ऐसी बातें करके मेरी आवाज़ दबा सकेंगे मेरी आवाज़ नहीं दब सकती मैं एक सैनानी परिवार से हूँ कोई ऐसा डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं था जो ले जाए हर समय ऐसे ही कोई समय चुनते हैं ताकि लोगों का ध्यान डाइवर्ट किया जाए
I think Congress cannot give this kind of flimsy excuses saying that this is political in nature, be it Hooda or Rahul Gandhi himself or his mother Sonia Gandhi or our brother-in-law Robert Vadra will have to subject themselves to every single scrutiny because they have indulged in malpractices and corruption.
उनको कानून के दायरे में काम करना चाहिए सरकार के इशारे पर सरकार के राजनीतिक विरोधियों को ये निशाना ना बनाएं सरकार बदलेगी और जवाबदेही तय करेगी हर उस व्यक्ति की हर उस संस्था की अपने पदों का दुरुपयोग करके उनके राजनीतिक विरोधियों को परेशान करने की बदनाम करने का काम किया है
Well, staying with stock-specific action then, SL Group stocks, including Zee Entertainment, Dish TV, Zee Media and Zee Learn, plunged in trade today. This after a report by The Wire showed that the SFIO is probing SL Group's links to a company which deposited 3,000 crore rupees just after demonetization. Manglam Mallu joins us now with more details. Manglam, the stocks have taken quite a beating on the back of that report. Can you give us some context?
There was a sharp sell-off in all the SL Group stocks today, be it the bigger ones like Zee and Dish TV losing almost 30%, or the smaller ones like Zee Learn, Zee Media, as well as City Networks. So what exactly set the cat among the pigeons was this report coming in from The Wire on the SFIO probing Nityank Infra for deposit of 3,000 crore rupees made right after demonetization in December 2016. Now, The Wire says that Nityank Infra carried out some financial transactions with companies which are associated with the SL Group between 2015 and 2017. So that is what scared the street. Furthermore, The Wire also says Nityank went ahead to help in a deal between the Videocon Group as well as the SL Group between in November 2016. Now, the SL Group on its part says that Nityank is an independent firm, while Videocon alleges otherwise. The SFIO's probing hasn't concluded, nor has the SFIO taken any action in the time since the probe has begun. But the fear in the street was further exacerbated by the fact that all the Zee Group stocks or all the SL Group stocks, the promoter's stake is pledged to a fair amount, be it Zee Entertainment Enterprises, where the promoter's stake is pledged to the tune of 60%, all the other companies like Zee Learn, Zee Media, City Networks, as well as Dish, where the promoter's stake ranges anywhere between 80 to 95% itself. So the fear is that once the stock prices started falling beyond a certain level, it was the pledged shares which were being sold in the markets openly, and which is what caused massive dent in these stock prices. CNBC TV 18 has written a detailed letter to the management of Zee, and we've tried to reach out to them via multiple modes of communication. We are awaiting their response, but a sharp knockoff in all the group companies in today's trading session.
All right, Manglam, thank you very much for joining in with that detailed report. But it's time now to take a short break on the show. Up next, Maruti Suzuki skids in its third quarter performance, a complete analysis of the results when we return. Welcome back. Let's shift the focus to the earnings corner then. Larsen & Toubro came out with its third quarter numbers just a short while back, and it's a beat for the Beach Infra Major on all parameters. Sonia Shenoy joins in with her analysis. Sonia, over to you.
Well, L&T reported a good set of numbers. On all fronts, it was a beat that the company announced. They did a revenue growth of 24% this time around. The profits went up by 37% and the margins were stable at 11.2%. More importantly, the orders that the company secured in this quarter came in at 42,233 crores, which was much better than the estimates of 30 to 35,000 crores. Although it was slightly lower than what they did same time last year, the company said that the current quarter witnessed delay in order awards because of deferment of certain projects, mainly in the transportation infrastructure and heavy civil infrastructure segment. Otherwise, on a cumulative basis, the orders for the 9-month ended December 31st stood at 1.2 lakh crores, which is a growth of 16%. Based on these internals, I expect the stock to open in the green on Monday.
Well, Sonia, hang on. Maruti Suzuki also reported a very weak set of earnings for the third quarter. Take us through the highlights of their performance.
Well, it was a very weak quarter for Maruti. In fact, the margins for the company hit a 5-year low and they fell 600 basis points year on year. The key reason for that, as the management stated, was higher raw material prices, higher selling expenses and adverse forex situation, and higher depreciation expenses that they had to incur because of new models that they introduced. All of this hit their margins. But even if you look at the profits fell 17% for the company on a year-on-year basis. Now, the management in the conference call did indicate that growth continues to be very sluggish. They said that Q3 has been an unusually tough quarter for the company. Discounts hit record highs, because of which they saw a hit in margins. Discounts went to as high as 24,300 rupees per unit. They could come down in the following quarters, but they still mentioned that growth is subdued. The stock hit a fresh 52-week low today.
All right, Sonia, thank you so much for taking us through both of those numbers. Now, Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal, who is likely to present the upcoming vote on account, says he's just standing in for Arun Jaitley, who is away from office due to health reasons. Speaking to tax officers in New Delhi, Goyal praised Jaitley for his work as a finance minister in the last 5 years and also informed the gathering that Jaitley was in good health and recovering very rapidly.
I'm only standing in for Shri Arun Jaitley ji. But I had a chance to talk to him late last night and actually even early morning today. And he's in good health, recovering very rapidly. He has also sent you his regards, his best wishes, and complimented all the award winners. And therefore, all the comments that Mr. Dash made or Ajay Bhushan ji made should rightfully go to Shri Arun Jaitley ji and the stewardship of the department that he has very ably done over the last 5 years.
Well, here's a big headline on the EWS quota front. The Supreme Court today said it will examine the validity of the constitutional amendment to grant 10% reservation in jobs and education to the economically weaker sections. However, it refused to stay the implementation of this law. This while hearing petitions challenging the 10% quota. The Apex Court has issued a notice to the centre and has asked for its response in 4 weeks' time. We'll take another short break on that note, but up next, Swadeshi Jagran Manch, the economic wing of the RSS, writes to the Prime Minister, urges him not to extend the date of compliance of the new e-commerce norms. More details on the other side. Now, Swadeshi Jagran Manch, the economic wing of the RSS, has urged Prime Minister Modi not to extend the date of compliance on the new e-commerce norms. Remember, last year, the government tightened its FDI e-commerce rules, banning companies from selling products via firms in which they had an equity interest and also barred them from making exclusive deals with sellers. Mukta Varia joins us for more on this story. Mukta, what does the letter highlight?
Yes, Chatu, the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, an RSS affiliate body, has written to the PM today urging the government not to defer on the implementation of the FDI policy, the deadline for which is on Feb 1st. Now, this letter comes after several reports suggested that there could be an extension of the deadline, especially because Flipkart and Amazon have lobbied with the government for an extension of about 4 to 6 months. Now, what is also just coming in is the Confederation of the All India Traders, which is a body of about 7 crore traders, also putting out a very strong statement, almost as if it's a threat to the PM, saying that if this implementation is deferred, they will, start a nationwide campaign with all the traders, which would also run up to the elections. So this is kind of becoming a political push on the FDI policy, which could have some implications on the elections. Now, remember, this also comes after reports that the US government might also intervene on behalf of Walmart and Amazon in order to push this policy, because remember, this is going to impact Walmart, which acquired Flipkart last year, as well as Amazon, given that they might have to bring about some structural changes, and they are also sitting on some inventory as part of their wholesale business. So I think that is the main worry for the companies, but these associations seem to be putting out a strong statement. Back to you.
All right, Mugdha, thank you very much for taking us through the contents of that letter. On that note, it's a wrap in this edition of Reporter's Diary. Thank you very much for watching. But do stay tuned. Up next, CNBC TV 18 and NSE celebrate Prosperity Day, and market experts will be speaking to us to share their mantra for wealth creation.